My name is Harper Vale, 29 years old. The champagne towers catch the afternoon light streaming through the Greenwich Country Club windows, each glass throwing fractured rainbows across white tablecloths like someone scattered diamonds over linen. The string quartet in the corner saws gently through something classical and smug. 80 guests in formal attire fill the ballroom, their conversation a steady hum that swells and dips beneath crystal chandeliers. I sit at the edge of the head table, fork poised over untouched lobster, watching my father rise from his chair like a man stepping onto a stage he thinks he owns. Richard Brooks commands attention without effort. Silver hair perfectly styled, custom tuxedo fitting his frame like armor, champagne flute held just high enough to angle the photographer's lens. He clears his throat and the room quiets almost immediately. People leaning forward, investors putting their phones away, society wives turning their pearls toward him. 35 years ago, I married my beautiful Eleanor, he begins, voice radiating that practiced warmth he uses when he's convincing people to give him money. Today we celebrate not just our marriage, but the future of the Brooks legacy. My mother beams beside him. Her pearl necklace catches the light, throwing tiny white sparks across the crystal. I've seen that expression before. It's the one she wears when she's gotten exactly what she wants, the one that says the script is going exactly as she rehearsed it. It gives me tremendous pride, my father continues, to announce that I'm transferring the complete Brooks Luxury Retreats portfolio to my son Preston, $15 million in premium properties, managed by the man who truly understands the family vision. There's a beat of silence, just long enough to register the words. Then applause erupts like someone flipped a switch. I place my fork down. The metallic clink cuts through the noise like a scalpel. Preston stands, smirking in his tailored suit, accepting handshakes and backslaps as men twice his age congratulate him for achievements he never earned. Blair Montgomery materializes at his side in a mermaid-cut dress that probably cost a nurse's annual salary, planting a kiss on his cheek that lingers just long enough for the society photographer to capture. I feel the attention tilting toward them, cameras lifting, phones angled, the narrative already writing itself. Golden son inherits the empire, proud parents look on, gorgeous fiancé at his side. That's an incredibly generous gift, Richard. My voice slices through the applause. It comes out steady, almost conversational. My father freezes mid-smile. The crystal flute trembles slightly in his hand. But legally, I add, you cannot give away property you haven't owned since October 2021. The room doesn't just fall quiet, it freezes. Someone's laugh dies halfway out of their throat. A fork clatters against china in the back. The quartet stops playing mid-phrase, the last violin note hanging thin and broken in the air. Preston's smirk collapses into something raw and exposed, like someone ripped the floor out from under him. My mother's gasp is sharp enough to cut. My father's hand tightens around his champagne flute until his knuckles turn white. I meet his eyes across the table. Gray eyes, just like mine. The ones that supposedly see through everything. They never saw me coming, but that moment comes later. Right now, I need to rewind, show you exactly how we arrived at this perfect crystallization of consequences. 48 hours earlier, I'm buckling my seatbelt in first class, watching Chicago disappear beneath a layer of winter cloud. The flight attendant offers champagne with a practiced smile. I decline. My stomach is already tight enough. My phone buzzes with Preston's latest text, the third this week. Can't wait to see you, sis. Big news to share. I stare at the words for a moment, at the smiling emoji he tacked on at the end like sugar over poison, and lock my phone without responding. The private car service drops me at the estate just after 3. November air bites through my cashmere coat as I step out, the cold creeping under my collar like a warning. The house looms in front of me, all stone and glass and old money, exactly as imposing as it was when I left 10 years ago. I don't knock. Instead, I reach into my bag and pull out the old brass key, the one they think I lost when I moved to Chicago. The metal is warm from my hand, heavy with history. The lock gives before I need to force it. The door opens silently. Inside, the house smells like polished wood, expensive coffee, and the faintest hint of my mother's perfume. Voices drift from my father's study. Laughter. The easy kind that comes when people are confident there will be no consequences. My heels make no sound on the Persian runner as I move down the hallway. The door to the study sits slightly ajar, warm light spilling out in a thin wedge. My heart hammers once, twice. Then something colder moves in, flattening the spike of anxiety into focus. I slip my hand into my coat pocket. My thumb finds the side button of my phone. The screen stays dark, but the recording indicator vibrates once against my palm. Last month, I funneled another 50 grand to BM Interiors for consultation fees. Preston's voice carries through the gap, that particular smug tone he reserves for his imagined victories. Bought Blair a 3-carat diamond. She posted it all over Instagram. Great press for the brand. My father's laugh rolls out, deep and pleased. The audit this weekend is pure formality. Harper's desperate for our approval, always has been. I'll cry, my mother's voice floats through, lighter, almost playful. She'll sign anything if I cry enough. She always does. Each word lands like a push, driving me back against the wall, pinning me there. A fourth voice joins them. Male, unfamiliar, paper-thin, with nerves. Once she signs the beneficiary waiver, you're protected. No ownership claim means no legal standing to question the transfers. My hand finds the door frame. The wood under my palm feels solid, real, while the rest of the world tilts sideways. They're not just favoring Preston. They're conspiring to rob me. My stomach tightens. Not from shock, but from the brutal clarity of confirmation. The ugly shapes I've been trying not to see for years snap into focus. I told you, Preston says, smugness thickening. She'll roll over. She always wants to be the good daughter. Sign whatever Dad puts in front of her, then run back to Chicago and bury herself in spreadsheets. Once the waiver is signed, the nervous man adds, we can finalize the transfer to your holding company, Mr. Brooks. Blair's corporation can continue invoicing as usual. By the time anyone looks, the trail's buried in the trust. My mother laughs softly. Harper never looks too hard. Not when it's family. The nausea hits in waves. I've spent 29 years trying to earn their love through competence, through being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who doesn't make trouble. Every late night, studying while Preston partied. Every promotion I downplayed so he wouldn't feel inadequate. Every time I stepped out of a family photo because my presence made the composition unbalanced. I was 14 when they blamed me for Preston's failing grades because I didn't tutor him enough. 22 when they excluded me from the family Christmas card because my recent promotion made Preston feel small. Now they're building an entire fraud scheme on my predictable need for their approval. The instinct to push open that door and scream is almost physical. I can see it. Papers ripped from my father's hand, my mother's mascara-streaked face, Preston's panic. For one wild second, I imagine overturning his whiskey, smashing the framed family portrait behind his desk, making them choke on their own strategy. But screaming doesn't change numbers. And numbers are the only thing they can't spin. So instead I turn. I walk back down the hallway, each step deliberate, heels silent on the runner. The voices behind me blur into background noise. The front door closes with a soft, expensive click. In the car, my hands shake as I pull out my phone. I open a message thread that's been more active than any family chat in the last year. I'm here. Meet me at the diner. The driver pulls away. My reflection appears faintly in the window. Same composed face, same neat bun, same good daughter presentation they trained into me. But something behind my eyes has shifted, like a lens sliding into place. They placed their bet on the wrong child. Now they're going to learn what happens when a forensic auditor finds fraud in the family books. The diner sits 3 miles from the estate, one of those roadside places that still smells like bacon grease and burnt coffee, with laminated menus and real Formica tables that have seen decades of secrets. The kind of place where nobody cares about last names. I slide into the corner booth at 9:30, my back to the wall, facing the door. Old habits. Always see who's coming. Always know where the exits are. Wyatt arrives 12 minutes later, wire-rimmed glasses slightly fogged from the November cold. He's wearing the same too-big coat he's had since undergrad, cuffs fraying, pockets bulging with pens and folded papers. In his hands, a manila envelope, the kind with a metal clasp that snaps like a verdict. He doesn't bother with hello. 4 years, he says, sliding the envelope across the table toward me. I've been documenting everything. The envelope stops by my fingertips. I look at it, then at him. My youngest brother, perpetual background character in family photos. Quiet, forgettable, easy to overlook. That oversight was their fatal mistake. Show me, I say. My fingers close around the edge of the envelope. Somewhere between that touch and the click of the clasp, the future of the Brooks family changes. Wyatt doesn't hesitate. He opens the envelope like he's unsealing a crime scene. Papers already organized into neat, color-coded stacks only a lifelong perfectionist would create. The diner's buzzing fluorescent lights flicker overhead, making everything feel slightly unreal, as if this moment is happening in a place outside time. "Start with this," Wyatt says, sliding out the first document. The letterhead hits me like a punch. Bank of Greenwich. Notice of default. Formal typography. Legal weight in every serif and margin. I scan the numbers, my mind shifting automatically into the hyper-focused state forensic audit work burns into you. Pattern recognition narrowing my entire world to columns, figures, date stamps, and signature mismatches. "Preston hasn't just been skimming," Wyatt says quietly. "He's drained the operating accounts." "How much?" He swallows. 800,000. Gone. 800,000. Transferred to BM Interiors over the course of 18 months. Consultation fees, according to the ledger. "There is no legitimate consulting work," I say, though it's not a question. Wyatt nods. "None. Blair's company has no employees, no office, no projects. I visited the listed address last month. It's a P.O. box in a strip mall between a vegan bakery and a vape shop." A hollow laugh escapes me, soft and humorless. Of course it is. He pulls out the next document, a personal guarantee. My father's signature sits at the bottom, bold and overconfident, just like him. "They put the mansion up as collateral for a $3 million line of credit," Wyatt says, "to cover Preston's theft." I stare at the page, but my mind goes somewhere else, back to being 17, sitting at the kitchen table, watching my parents fight about money, and hearing my mother say, "Richard, do something. Fix it. Savannah can't know." Back then I thought they were hiding stress. Now I know they were hiding rot. Wyatt places a flash drive on the table, a single silver rectangle that might as well be a detonator. Every transaction, every invoice, every falsified line item. I tracked all of it. It's all here. The weight of it hits me. Not just the fraud, but the fact that Wyatt did this. Quiet little Wyatt, the one they never paid attention to. The one who listened when no one else did. The one who was invisible enough to see everything. I'm proud of him in a way that almost hurts. But there's no time for softness. "What else?" I ask. He pulls out printed screenshots. Green and blue iMessage bubbles lined up like confessions. "Text messages," he says, voice tight. "Between Preston and Blair. Between Mom and Preston." He hands me the first one. Preston. "Once she signs the waiver, she's out permanently. Easy. She's always been desperate for approval. Just let Mom cry." Blair. "She'll fold. She always does. Good daughters do." My jaw clenches. I flip to the next screenshot. Mom. "Wear her down. Tears always worked when she was little." Preston. "Knew it. She's weak." Weak. A strange coldness settles inside my chest, an emptiness so quiet it feels like the eye of a hurricane. I set the papers down carefully, like they're explosives. Wyatt watches me with wide, worried eyes. "Sis, should we warn them?" he asks softly. "Give them a chance to come clean? We could confront them privately, fix it internally, keep the family intact." I close my eyes. For a split second, I imagine it, calling Richard, presenting the evidence, giving him 48 hours to fire Preston, repay the money, apologize. A quiet resolution, a fragile peace, a version of the family I once wished we were. But I know the truth. My childhood taught me well. When you give them a second chance, they take a second mortgage on your forgiveness. When you give them time, they use it to sharpen knives. When you warn them, they hide the evidence better. "No," I say, not angry, not emotional, just certain. If we warn them, they adapt. They find a new angle, another scheme, another lie. Wyatt nods slowly. He already knew the answer. He just needed to hear me say it. "So what now?" he asks. "We let the trap close," I say, exactly as they designed it. He exhales shakily. "The party on Sunday. Perfect stage," I finish. "They want witnesses. They want applause. They want to crown Preston in public." I pick up my phone and open the camera app. Help me document everything. For the next 20 minutes, we work silently. Cold coffee between us. Diner noise fading into static. I photograph every page, every number, every signature. 3 copies go into 3 encrypted folders in 3 separate cloud accounts. When I finish, I return the papers to their stack. Wyatt stares at them like they're radioactive. "This will destroy them," he whispers. "They destroyed themselves," I say. I'm just the auditor writing the final report. Saturday morning. The Brooks estate looks exactly as it always has. Immaculate, curated, untouchable, like chaos can't cross its threshold. My mother opens the door before I can knock. Cream linen dress, pearls already in place. She beams like the sun finally returned from vacation. "Oh, darling, we've missed you," she says, pulling me into a hug that smells like Chanel No. 5 and desperation. Her arms squeeze too tightly. Her voice trembles at precisely the right moments. It's a performance. And for the first time, I see the strings. Inside, Preston is sprawled on the leather sofa, phone angled to catch the best lighting for whatever vanity project he's posting. "Hey, Harp," he calls lazily, as if we're siblings sharing inside jokes instead of legal adversaries in a slow-boiling fraud case. Dad grunts without looking up from his newspaper. Savannah. Not Harper. Never my preferred name. A tiny dominance move, embedded like a signature. They keep talking as if nothing is wrong. As if they didn't plan to steal my inheritance 36 hours ago. As if I didn't hear every word. I play the role. Smile at the appropriate moments. Let them believe I'm still the daughter, shaped by their expectations. Later, in the kitchen, Mom corners me, exactly where she always does her best emotional work. The lighting is soft. The marble counters gleam. It's her arena. "Sweetheart," she begins, voice trembling just enough to sound human. "We need your help." She reaches for my hand. Her tears fall perfectly, soft, strategic. She invokes family unity, Grandma's memory, my father's failing health, Preston's pressure. Each line is a hook, sharpened over decades. And for one dizzying moment, I almost fall for it. My hands begin to shake. Old wiring tries to fire. The reflex to save them rises like a tide. Then the kitchen door opens. Wyatt steps in, glasses crooked. He grabs a water glass from the cabinet. His phone, held casually, is angled toward me. I catch the blue glow of the screen. "Mom, Preston. I will wear her down. She's weak. Start drafting the waiver." Preston. Mom. Perfect. Knew the tears would work. The shaking stops. Everything stops. And something inside me, something that's been splintered for years, finally breaks clean. I look at my mother and no longer see a mother. I see a hostile subject, a manipulator caught mid-act, a woman attempting to defraud an auditor. "I need time to think," I say, deliberately letting my voice tremble. "This is all a lot." Her relief is instant. She thinks she's winning. "Of course, darling. Take all the time you need." She pulls me into another hug, and I let her. Let her think she still owns me. Let her think the good daughter still exists. "We'll talk at dinner," I promise. Upstairs, in the guest room, I close the door and finally let my real expression settle into place. Neutral, sharp, certain. I open the briefcase on the bed. Inside, certified deeds to the Eloise Trust, the 247-page forensic audit, FBI contact card, flash drive duplications, and the letter from Nana, "Don't let them make you small." I run my thumb over her signature. "I won't," I whisper. "Not anymore." The dining room has always looked like it belongs in a magazine spread. Vaulted ceilings, a chandelier dripping with crystal, mahogany long enough to seat a minor parliament. But tonight, the air feels different, thicker, expectant, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath. I arrive deliberately late, shoulders slouched, eyes reddened, just enough to look frayed. I make a point of pushing my food around the plate without eating, letting the silverware scrape softly across the china. The performance is subtle, weary, exactly the version of me they expect to see. Tired, overwhelmed, vulnerable. "Harper, sweetheart," my mother says gently, reaching across the table. "You've barely touched your dinner." Her touch is cool, practiced. She looks at me the way a stage actress looks at the audience during her big emotional monologue. "I'm just tired," I murmur. I let my gaze drift slowly, landing on each of them in turn. My father's eyes narrow, calculating, assessing the weakness he believes he created in me. My mother's face softens into performative sorrow. Ashley and Brandon exchange a glance, but say nothing. And Preston. Preston sits back in his chair, his smirk returning like a stain, bleeding through white linen. "That does it. You win, Preston." I let the words fall heavily, like surrender. "I'll sign the waiver." The effect is immediate. My mother gasps, relief flooding her face like she's witnessing a miracle. "Oh, darling, you don't know what this means to us, to the family." My father nods slowly, his expression blossoming into something like pride or victory. "A mature decision, Harper. Very mature. You're finally seeing the bigger picture." The bigger picture, his legacy, his son. Preston raises his wine glass, smugness dripping from every syllable. I knew you'd come around. You always do. To family unity. He clinks glasses with Blair's empty chair, as though she's already at the table celebrating her future wealth. I don't raise my glass. Instead, I lean in slightly, lowering my voice. But if we're going to do this, I want to do it properly. Richard looks intrigued. Properly? At the anniversary party, tomorrow, in front of everyone. I let a tremor slip into my tone. A public show of unity, the family standing together, and then I'll go back to Chicago, clean slate. Silence spreads across the table like ink in water, because they understand exactly what I'm offering. A spectacle, a moment, a narrative they can control, a final, shining image for the cameras. Preston breaks first, grin stretching wide. That's perfect. Yes, absolutely yes. Blair's been wanting to film something for social media anyway. This is gold. My father's chest expands with the kind of self-satisfied breath he saves for big victories. This will confirm investor confidence. Excellent optics. My mother grips my hand, smiling through her tears. This is all I ever wanted, my children united. I almost laugh, but I don't, because the performance isn't over. Preston immediately pulls out his phone. I need to text Melissa, expand the guest list, double it, maybe triple it. This deserves a bigger audience. Richard flips open the wine list, pointing to the most expensive champagne. We'll serve the Cristal, nothing less. Eleanor starts mapping out seating arrangements, mumbling about how I'll need to be placed between Richard and Preston. Very visible, very symbolic. I excuse myself after dessert, mentioning exhaustion again. It's believable. They think emotional fragility makes me compliant. At the top of the stairs, I pause. Their voices drift up from the dining room. Too loud, too excited, too triumphant. Preston laughs loudly. She actually bought it. Can you believe it? Told you Mom's guilt trip would work. I hear glassware clinking, self-congratulation masquerading as family unity. Richard's voice follows, rich with satisfaction. Tomorrow we secure everything. The girl was always predictable. Predictable. My fingers tighten around the banister. I walk to the guest room with slow, measured steps. Inside, I lock the door, then the mask drops. My face settles into its true expression. Calm, focused, unflinching. I open the briefcase on the bed. The contents shine under the lamp like surgical tools. The certified deeds bearing the official Fairfield County seals, the 247-page forensic audit report, the FBI contact card, the flash drive backups, Nana's handwritten letter, tucked between the folders, like a talisman. I lay everything out in precise order, rehearsing the sequence in my head. 8:15. Richard begins his anniversary toast. 8:16. I interrupt. 8:17. Certified deeds presented. 8:18. Nana's capacity video. 8:20. Fraud report revealed. 8:21. FBI action executed. A choreography of consequences. I move to the mirror. For a moment, I study the woman staring back at me. A woman they assumed was weak. A woman they underestimated. A woman they believed they could break with tears and guilt and tradition. They forgot one simple truth. I am my grandmother's granddaughter, not their pawn. I close the briefcase, latching it with a soft click. Lights from the estate grounds spill through the window, illuminating the cold November night. Below, I can hear laughter, clinking glasses, the soft murmur of celebration. They're not sleeping tonight. Too excited, too certain. I turn off the bedside lamp. I sleep 8 hours, dreamless. Tomorrow, they learn the difference between confidence and competence. The ballroom glows with curated perfection, champagne towers sparkling like liquid gold, the string quartet drifting through elegant crescendos, waitstaff in crisp black uniforms, weaving silently between tables. Guests chatter in clusters, unaware that the foundation of the Brooks dynasty is minutes away from collapsing. My heels click softly against the marble as I take my seat at the head table. The crystal glasses sparkle in front of me, but I don't touch the champagne. I want every sense sharp, clear, uncompromised. Across the table, Richard adjusts his tuxedo cuffs like a man preparing for coronation. Preston preens next to him, sleeker than a corporate shark, rehearsing whatever smug soundbite he's planning for the investors invited to witness his transition into leadership. Eleanor's pearls sit perfectly against her collarbone, her serene smile masking the electric anticipation in her eyes. They think they have already won. The quartet finishes its piece. Conversation softens. A server dims the lights in a practiced sweep across the room. Richard rises from his seat. He taps his champagne flute, ting, 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 and the room hushes instantly. Cameras lift. Influencers discreetly adjust their filters. Investors lean forward. 35 years ago, Richard begins, voice warm with performance. I married my beautiful Eleanor. Today we celebrate not only our anniversary, but the unity and future of the Brooks legacy. He gestures to Preston. It gives me pride to announce the formal transfer of the entire Brooks Luxury Retreats portfolio to my son. I stand. Father, I say, before you continue, there's something the guests should know. A ripple moves across the ballroom, fabric shifting, glasses chiming, whispers sparking like static. Richard's smile cracks. Harper, dear, we discussed this. I place my briefcase on the table. The snap of the latches carries through the silence like a gunshot. Legally, I say, you cannot give away property you haven't owned since October 2021. The room freezes. A woman drops her butter knife. Wyatt, at a back table, exhales quietly, relief mixed with dread. I pull out the certified deeds and lay them in a neat stack on the linen. These properties, I say, were transferred 3 years ago to the Eloise Trust, created by my grandmother. I am the sole trustee. You never owned them to give away. Gasps scatter through the room like shattering glass. Preston's face drains of color. Eleanor's eyes go wide, her pearls rising and falling with each shallow breath. Richard grips the table edge like he's steadying himself against a blow. Lies, he hisses. Fabrications. The AV technician I tipped earlier cues the projector at my nod. The screen behind us glows to life. Nana Eloise appears, sharp-eyed, resolute, sitting in her attorney's office with an air of quiet authority. My name is Eloise Catherine Brooks, she begins. I am of sound mind. I am transferring the Brooks Luxury Retreats portfolio to my granddaughter Harper Vale. She is the only one with the competence and integrity to protect it. The room is a vacuum of silence. When the video ends, the lawyer's signature and timestamp remain frozen on the screen, an irrefutable monument to truth. Eleanor collapses back into her chair. Richard staggers a step, clutching the edge of the table. Preston looks like he's choking on his own rage. I reach into my briefcase again and reveal the 247-page forensic audit. Each page is a blade. Since Preston never owned the properties, I say, the $800,000 transferred to BM Interiors was not profit distribution. It was wire fraud, and Blair Montgomery's shell company was used to launder the funds. Blair, seated 2 tables away, stands so abruptly her chair falls backward. Her glass slips from her hand, shattering across marble. I didn't, Preston said, but her voice breaks. She flees the room, heels clattering. Preston lunges forward, but security catches him before he reaches me. You are ruining us, he screams. I'm your brother. You stole from your family, I say quietly. I simply documented it. Wyatt stands now, holding up his laptop as the projector shows the final set of evidence. Flowcharts, bank transfers, fake invoices, Blair's P.O. box registration. The truth gleams in green and red cells. My father's phone buzzes violently on the table. He checks it, and his face crumples. Loan recall, he croaks. The bank, the mansion. His voice fractures. They're seizing everything. Preston's screams echo against crystal chandeliers as security drags him out of the ballroom. Investors gather their coats, murmuring about fiduciary negligence. The reporter scribbles furiously, sensing a front-page scandal. Guests slip out, unwilling to be witnesses to the wreckage. My mother sinks into her chair, trembling. For the first time in her life, there are no tears to weaponize, no script to follow, no audience to manipulate. Just consequences. I gather my documents, close my briefcase, and turn away from the head table, leaving the ruins behind me. 3 months later, Chicago. Sunlight spills into my penthouse, warm against the hardwood floors. Soft jazz hums in the background, and for the first time in years, the quiet feels comforting, not oppressive. My consulting firm now works with high-risk estates, the irony not lost on me. Victims of golden child fraudsters find me through referrals. They tell me their stories, variations on themes I lived through. I tell them anonymously, "You're not ungrateful, you're not dramatic, you're being robbed." The Eloise Trust? Flourishing. Revenue up 40%. Properties thriving under professional management, not family ego. A soft knock. Ven steps inside, carrying a bag of pastries from our favorite cafe. He leans down, presses a kiss to my forehead, and sets the warm bag on the counter. "You look lighter," he says. "I feel it," I reply. Wyatt visits that afternoon, dropping off pastries and updates from his forensic accounting PhD program, funded by legitimate profits, the antithesis of Preston's world. "Do you ever regret it?" Wyatt asks as we sit on the balcony. "Not for a second." Below us, the city thrums with life, indifferent to the fall of a dynasty. Richard and Eleanor now rent a cramped two-bedroom in Stamford. Preston serves 3 years in minimum security. Blair works retail to pay off legal fees. Their downfall is no victory. It is simply the natural consequence of choices they made long before I ever lifted a finger. I pour wine into 2 glasses and raise mine toward the skyline. "To competence," I whisper, "to Nana." A breeze carries my words into the city, and for the first time, I believe they're truly mine. My phone buzzes on the railing, unknown number, Greenwich area code. I silence it. I don't wonder who it was. I turn back to the view, to my life, to the future I built from ashes, and lift my glass again, higher this time. "Never apologize for being the capable one," I say softly, repeating Nana's final lesson. Then I go back inside, closing the balcony door behind me.